All right, let's see if we have this thing set up all right. Good morning. Let's do a sound check. Jim Cagnina here, Ninjatrader. And to see how we're sounding today. So you just see a chart right now on your screen. And we'll, a couple minutes early. We're about 4 minutes early here. Just wanted to make sure I can get this thing set up properly. Everybody has an opportunity to get settled in here before we get started. So any amount of feedback in the chat box would be awesome. John, good morning. Robert, good morning. Let's do a sound check and a visual. We should just see a chart up there right now. 10-minute. ES. Eldest says sound is fantastic. Awesome. All good so far. Pretty cool. Thanks for being here. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes. And I want to welcome everybody. I'll officially welcome everybody in a few minutes. It's been some really crazy couple of days here, haven't it? In the online futures trading world. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get settled in here a little bit. Got some charts I want to show. I have my coffee cup filled to the rim. Jeff, good morning. It will be empty pretty soon. But that's all right. As long as we could start with a bit fresh cup and get moving. That's Starbucks. I don't live close to a Starbucks anymore, and I'm starting to get a little bit depressed about it. I'm gonna have to do something about that. We'll figure out how to get better. Right now, all you're going to see is my Ninjatrader setup, really modular. Kind of set it up however you want. I know I've been moving charts around all morning, and they're not lined up perfectly, but good enough for presentation purposes, I think. Hopefully, wherever you are in this world, it's the weather is good. And everything is cool and easy. Feel free to type in questions as we go today. I know I think I have my colleague here, Josh, helping me out with Q&As. I think we're broadcasting through a couple of different venues right now, which is awesome. I do want to pull up one more page here before we get officially started. Get the website here, ninjatrader.com. Hopefully everyone's familiar with this. Interested in a live, real-time practice account, just type in your email address here, hit download, and that'll get you started. Follow along live if you want. Appreciate that. We're gonna get started in like 1 minute here. I just wanna wait for any last second folks to trickle in. This is the first Tuesday. We've kind of changed our presentation format a little bit. And so now Tuesdays and Wednesdays we're going to go through Zoom, but we're also streaming in other places. We're not doing the StreamYard on Tuesdays anymore. And this is just kind of make it easy. This is a recurring event. You don't have to keep hunting around for stuff. You're going to get an email saying, hey, here's where we go. All right, let's get started here. Good morning, everybody. Let's officially get started, actually. It's 10 o'clock East Coast time, 9 o'clock Chicago time. My name is Jim Cagnina with Ninjatrader. And I do want to remind everybody that trading futures, options on futures, involves substantial risk of loss, not suitable for all traders and investors. Oftentimes in futures trading, you have a high combination of leverage and volatility. Well, that can be an equation for opportunity, also equation for risk. So be careful. Only fund your futures trading account with risk capital. My personal definition: money I can afford to lose, doesn't change my lifestyle, doesn't lengthen my retirement horizon, and doesn't overly anger Mrs. Cagnina. Now that last part's a little tongue-in-cheek, but not really. Stress in life matters. Be in a good place. Also, easy on the day trade margins. Yeah, Ninjatrader offers low day trade margins. as a convenience and use it properly, and just kind of be careful with that. You get a lot of leverage with futures trading in general. We are going to be looking for trade ideas in a real-time sim mode today. I'm logged into simulated live mode today, so there won't be real trades, but there'll be simulated trades, and we're going to talk about it. So feel free to go ahead and type in questions as we go. Tova, we're not going to talk about the TAS indicator today. I'm going to kind of show you how I'm thinking about the market today. So here's the link for that, ninjatrader.com/risk. If you need to read up on that, feel free to do that. All right, any questions on risk? Type them in. Let's go ahead and go forward here. I mean, yesterday was, let's pull up a daily chart here for the ES. Yesterday, we broke on through a couple of moving averages here, right? We had, and I'll show you how I have it set up here through my indicators. We have the 50, the 100, the 50 period moving average. Since this is a daily chart, it's a daily 50, 100, and 150. Crushed the 50, right? We were bouncing up against the 50 for a long time. Crushed through the 50. We tested the 100, but the 100 SMA kind of held. So far, so good. Knock on wood. The 100 held. The 150, not even close. So we got, these are all areas of interest still, for sure, right? 4310 is an area of interest right now for me. We have a lot of buyers came back in with a pretty big wick at the bottom of this candle, or some people would call it a shadow. I'm going to call it wick because the name is candle. It makes more sense to me. But if you feel comfortable, it's the shadow right there. That's where we're at. So today we're having a little bit of a turnaround day, and let's kind of see what else we could glean from another daily chart. This daily chart here is, it's a daily candle chart again. And let me show you how I have the indicator set up here. I only have one. It's a 50 period moving average again. Really interesting area of interest right now, 4421. I'm going to remember that number. It corresponds just basically to about a 50% retracement. And it's right in that area right there. So again, area of interest right there for me. I know it's, maybe kind of far away for right now, especially given the fact that it's a Fed day, right? We have Fed meetings starting today with answers supposedly coming in tomorrow afternoon. So in any event, let's go to let's look at the quote board really fast. ES is up 20, NASI 52. The YM 232, that's been constant almost all morning, that the YM, the Dow. Cruising down here, energies, nothing much to write home about. The currency pairs, nothing much to write home about. Gold's up 10, which is kind of interesting to me, but still we're way short of 1800. Then the bonds are kind of breaking back down. They rallied yesterday. Bonds are kind of slowing down a little bit, maybe, I don't know, 9 ticks or so. Not that much of a move, but something to kind of keep an eye on right now. Let's go ahead and pop up our 10-minute E-mini S&P. I got volume profile on the left. I have my moving average cross on the bottom. I have the CCI in the very far bottom. That's my oscillator of choice. We're down, minus 100 right now. And then I have a Fibonacci line. And the Fibonacci line I drew, there's a couple of different places you could possibly draw it. And since it's a Fed day, I decided, let's take a look at the whole field. Let's take a look at the whole picture and decide, see what the fib is telling us right now. And so I went low to high, right? I went low to high, and our first, in the trend here in my mind, when we opened up last night, we had a high, a low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low. So up until 5:30 this morning, the trend was bullish, right? A series of higher highs and a series of higher lows. That's kind of the definition of, a bullish trend, right? Kind of basic definition. So at that point, I decided, okay, let's go ahead and do the retracement from start to finish, right? And I might have started zeroed out. This is actually, I probably did this backward. Let me try it again just to make sure in my rush this morning. Let's go low. Oops. Select fib, retracement, low to high, and let's kind of paint it all the way over here now. So I'm going to make a couple of in-line adjustments right now. properties. I really want to, let's see what we got here. Properties, I'm going to get rid of this. 76.4 isn't a real fib number. It's 78.6, by the way. But this just gives symmetry to the 23.6 number. But we're going to remove that one right now. I'm just going to remove it from now and hit OK, hit apply, and hit OK. So now I'm looking at these fib lines and saying, wow, this is, we've been kind of trading between these things since, I don't know, the open, really. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times we crossed the point of control. We're finally breaking down right now. We're past the 61.8. And I got to turn my cell phone off. Hang on a second, guys. All right. And so it's giving me more areas of interest right now. So more areas of interest right now. And really, it's kind of interesting that the 50 is close to the point of control, and we've traded through the point of control so many times. And let's take a look at what would be considered the dominant candle here. And it's kind of hard to determine what the dominant candle is here, because we had here on the 940 to 950 bar pretty good move up. Previous to that, a doji, which is like they wanted to go high, but we had buyers coming in at the bottom of that candle. There's a lot of really big wick down there, continuation candle. Then we had more than an equal and opposite candle on the next bar, right? 950 to 10. Now we have continuation pressure down. CCI is minus 161. Let's just take a look at the moving average cross here. I have my slow one, which is the blue, fast one, which is the gold. That's 26 and 6. That's how I have my my settings set for that. And right now they're kind of going parallel, right? Kind of going parallel, not too speedy. CCI was pretty negative, right? Pretty negative right now. So overall, I anticipate this to be a Fed day, but it's kind of a Fed kind of trading around a point of control day would be my general answer. But since yesterday's, big price adjustment downward, I'm gonna suggest that there could be something more to play than just that right now. So before I just dive in to say, listen, I'm looking for places to buy or I'm looking for places to sell, I want to get a little bit, I want to see some more candle action. I want to see another candle. I want to see if we could find some support and resistance as we continue on. We're going to have another candle in a minute or so. So let's just be patient and see what happens here. The value area right now is, we're trading at prices below value. And that's that dark blue area here. So this dark blue area is the volume, 1 standard deviation worth of volume in the dark blue area. And then when you get to the light blue area, those are called prices below value, right? Prices below value. And then the light blue on the top here are prices above value. And so it's interesting to see some like a fib line kind of boom right at the top of the value area. Right there. That's kind of a really good area of interest, right, for me at this particular point. But right now, it's all sellers. We don't have a bid yet. We're going to wait to see if this momentum slows down or if we have a breakout to the downside. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have to wait and see. But again, we should have another candle in a second. A lot of sellers are coming in right now. You could just see the candle is at its low. So when the candle is trading at its low, that's suggesting that there's not a lot of bids, right? It's all offers. People are wanting to sell. Entities, people, whoever's trading this particular market want to sell. And that's kind of what we're looking at. So now we have a new candle. It's the 1010 to 1020 candle. So let's kind of hang tight and see what happens here. On the volume profile on the left, you'll see the lower left here. You're going to see it's a little bit of we have a little bit of a market weakness, right? Not a lot of prices traded between, not a lot of volume traded between 53. And I'm just going to move my cursor down to 49, right? So that's suggesting an area of unhappiness, right? There's not, buyers and sellers don't want to spend a lot of time down there, right? We just kind of shot through it real fast, and now we're up against it here. So this is a good green candle. Let's see if we could get some momentum back up. I'm going to draw a rectangle. I know it's a little bit early in the day to draw a rectangle, but I'm going to do it anyway because rectangles are free on Ninjatrader. Everybody knows that. And so what I'm trying to do, I'm looking for, this is a visual aid for me. I'm just looking for an area of support. And let's see if we can get that. You can see that we had a shift here in the volume profile. I'm looking for an area of support right now. Can we approach back up to the 61.8? Can we get back up to the point of control? These are all thoughts that are going through my mind. And right now, I want to be patient. I want to wait to see if we're going to get penetration into this rectangle or not, especially considering these two dominant candles that just kind of popped in there, that are very strong, very big, and way bigger than any other candle that you see on the whole chart, right? So that's why I say dominant candle, and there's actually two of them. There's two of them back to back on a 10-minute chart, which is pretty impressive. So we're going to wait to see here how we handle this, and we got another 9 minutes before the next event. Alan asks a great question. You're using a 10-minute ES chart. Do you find that it's better than a 1-minute chart for an ES or the NQ? Great question, by the way. I don't think it's better. My better is it's my approach, and my approach is with the 10-minute, because my duration of this trade, that if we do have a trade idea today, and we do get in a trade, my duration is going to be a multiple of 6. So when I say 10 minutes and I multiply it by 6, I get 60 minutes. That's my expected duration of my trade. If I was using a 1-minute chart, then, roughly speaking, I would say, all right, I want to be in a trade for roughly 6 minutes, right? Different everything. So we're going to have a different range on the bars. We're going to have a different overall range in the time frame, and it's not necessarily a bad way to go. But when you're doing a 1-minute chart, in my mind, this is where I'm looking for less patience in my trade, right? I want to be in and out quicker. And that's just me, Alan. That's how I roll. I mean, if it was a 30-minute chart, I'd be looking at 3-hour possible duration on a trade idea. But since we are right after the market's opened right now, we're more than a half an hour now after 45 minutes after the cash opened up, the cash market opened up in New York, and then we're another 45 minutes away from maybe when the midday lull kicks in. Then that's why I'm choosing this 10-minute. This is why I'm choosing this 10-minute. And I think it gives me plenty of information, right? The volume profile is not bar specific, right? This is cumulative volume. So when I look at this particular study, it's literally, it helps me because it tells me, it paints the picture of the entire day, right? And so it's not necessarily, it'll look the same on a 1-minute chart. It'll look the same on a 60-minute chart. So this is just cumulative volume. So that kind of helps me out a lot to see where buyers and sellers were happy throughout the day, where the most volume has occurred right now. And, we're trading prices below, and the volume is not that big. We could take a just real quick peek at what the volume is overall. We have a decent amount of volume today, 703,000 already. It's not a bad day. It's a pretty good day. We've had a lot smaller days in August, that's for sure. So that's, there's some volume coming in here, and there's some volatility coming in. So in any event, this is a long-winded way of answering, Alan. So yeah, so my preference. So let me just give you a little bit of history of me. I started this adventure, if you will, in 1981. I was on the floor of the board of trade. I was just graduated high school. It was a summer job. And that's when I had my aha moment that this is certainly an interesting phenomenon, futures trading, right? So anyway, to make a long story short, I went from not understanding anything to simple to complicated. And now I'm kind of back to simple, easy, patient, right? Simple, easy, patient. And so that's why, it's for me, it's better to be patient and wait, and as opposed to be impatient and kind of be aggressive. That's just me. So not saying scalping is a bad idea, but generally speaking, I think it's a little bit harder because we're competing against a whole bunch of different factors, right? We're competing against wow, look at this, come all the way back up and touch it. Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. All right, so let me finish that sentence in a second, Alan, because what I'm going to do, turn on my chart trader just to make sure that's okay. And let me just actually, before I do that, let's just see what my default is here. Here's the chart trader itself, quantity 1. We're all good. Okay, so we're going to just go ahead and go back over to hidden because I'm going to use my mouse to place trades, right? I'm gonna use my mouse to place trades. Now, since we did touch my fib number, and since we're off the lows today, I'm gonna be a little bit more patient, but I do want to look for an area to buy pretty soon. And the question in my mind is, do I wait for it to kind of attack into that rectangle again or not? And I'm going to be a little bit less patient right now. And so I'm going to go just right click my mouse. It's really easy to do on NinjaTrader. I'm just going to go, buy limit 43.56 and even, and it sends the order. Okay, so now I have an order in the marketplace. And from a stop point of view, I want to be below my rectangle. I want to be below my rectangle, probably by at least 8 ticks, right? So let's say 49-ish. So I'm going to come down here and go to maybe 48.75 looks good. So we're going to go ahead and put a sell stop in. Okay, so now I didn't quite get there yet. And see if we can get to our. All right, so now we got to fill. Now my protective stop is here, right? My protective stop is here. And what I'm saying is, hey, I'm hoping this area of support holds up, right? And even if it doesn't hold up totally, I gave myself a little bit of protection, a little bit of wiggle room below it. 8 to 10 ticks is typically my comfort zone. In this particular case, because the volatility has been kind of wacky the last couple of days, this is probably not a typical Jim Cagnina conservative trade idea. This is probably a little bit more aggressive because we've seen some unusual volatility the last couple of days. In any event, Paulo asks, it's far easier to make things complicated and get back to simple. Yeah, you're almost right. I mean, I think you are right. I mean, it's really I hear you. I mean, it's complicated. Is in my what's happened to me over time is the smarter I thought I was, the worse I did. So I don't want to pretend I'm too smart. So that's why I'm just going to look at a couple of things and find a niche that kind of works. Kind of stick with it. We're going to have good days and we're going to have bad days. And we want our good days to be better than our bad days. It's real simple. Okay, profit target. What do you want to do here? So we're still trading around our entry right now. We have a couple of areas of interest, the 61.8. We have the 50%. 50%, by the way, is not a fib line either. It's just kind of a middle number. It's just kind of it just shows you the halfway point between the top and the bottom. That's all it kind of is. But I'm looking at this area right here where we have a less amount of volume and a bigger amount of volume, and it's right above the 61. It's right between the two, and I kind of like that area right now as a potential target. So I'm just going to right click. I'm going to get sell limit. Order submitted. And there we go. This is the anatomy of like every trade you'll ever see in the world, right? You have a position, you have a protective stop, and you have a profit target. Now, when I say the anatomy of every trade you see in the world, what I mean is this is best practices, right? This is really best practices. Mike, we're going to add some ATM strategy events later on. I'm not going to use the ATM strategies today because I want to be hands-on. I want to be aggressive. I want to move things around. And I want to see if we can get back to that point of control, really. That would be sweet. That'd be good for our trade idea. Now, would I move any of my trades around right now? So if I'm more aggressive, maybe I want to move my stop to break even right now and let this thing roll. That would be one strategy. But I'm going to stick to my guns here, and we'll see what happens. Carlos says, I suppose we need to decide whether we want to trade for income or trade for return. Do you think that answering this question could help us determine our approach to the market? Wow, that's a heavy duty question. I mean, so Carlos, when I'm thinking about return, I'm thinking about long-term trades, swing trades or position trades, and a portfolio of positions. And so when I think of that, I'm thinking of, what's my return? What's my ROI on my investment? Because I'm going to make an investment. I'm going to capitalize my account and I'm going to hang tight. Well, that's kind of that's how I would look at that. From a day trading point of view, which is what we're trying to do now, right? A day trading point of view. Then, it's we want to make money, we're looking for income. We want to generate, cash flow. So that's kind of how I look at the differences between the two. So, and you could measure your ROI on any activity, I mean, that you do in life, right? So, and I think that's what Alan is trying to say. Okay, I think I'm caught up on Q&As here. Josh, thanks for the help on that. Appreciate that. All right, so we're still kind of hanging out here. I know it's kind of frustrating, right? Right now, it's like, wow, we were up 5 handles a second ago. Now we're only up 2 handles. How come you're not more in it? You're not interactive now. You're not engaging it more, because this is where I'm at in life. This is where my patience is. Yeah, we could have went ahead and got out and done okay, and then look for another trade idea. But I'm going to let the market structure kind of tell me, and the market structure might stop us out. The behavior that this particular market might stop us out. But right now I'm having a little bit of faith, right? I'm having faith this point of control means something. It's going to act like a magnet, or at least the 61.8%, which is, in line with the transition between the bottom of the value area and prices below value, that one standard deviation. We're at the bottom of it right now. And we'll see what happens. We're kind of right back to where we broke even. I have my area of support there that hopefully will hold, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. Carla says, most people will answer that they want to trade for return, but what they actually mean is that they want the steadiness of trading for income with the prospect of making massive gains that you'll get when you trade for return. And that, of course, is impossible. Well, I don't know what most people would answer, to be honest with you. I mean, based on your experience, it seems like you have an opinion on that. Of course, the prospect of hitting a home run trade is always appealing, right? But in reality, it's difficult to do, and very few people are able to do it, especially on a consistent basis. So again, the approach that I like to use, that you're seeing here right now, is patience. And would I do this if I get stopped out? Am I going to would I do the same trade setup? Well, we'd have to take a look at the candles and decide if it was a good trade idea or a bad trade idea. But generally speaking, I'm talking through my thought process right now. Now, what time is it? It's 9:23. We got a long way before there's a new candle. If we might have to move that rectangle down again, whether we get stopped out or not. Kind of push this, maybe center this a little bit better so we could see it, and go from there. Yeah, and so, but one of the things I do want to rebut a little bit here is, regardless of what your objective is, your strategy is, the Ninjatrader software is really accommodative. I mean, you could set up, you could set up your workstation a million different ways to accommodate whatever works for you. So Ishmael says, how do you use the bottom charts to make, are you referring to these charts down here, out of curiosity? These are just kind of daily charts for, I just like to see what crude oil is doing. We're back into our channel almost. That's kind of a real popular energy market, the West Texas Intermediary Light Sweet Crude. It's a global benchmark. It's got a lot of volume in it. There's a micro contract that's available for that. Treasury bonds also gives me a good indication of what's going on with a couple of different things. With one, where the flight to quality may or may not be, and then what the engagement's going to be with respect to interest rates and other monetary policy things that are going on right now. And where I have 2 rectangles, right? I have support and resistance. We're kind of range bound. We've been range bound in bonds for a long time. This is the market that I started working in back in the early 80s. And I'm pretty familiar with it. It was a very, very popular market back in the day, and it still has a lot of volume. It's still a really good tradable market right now, but we're definitely range bound here, which isn't surprising. And we'll see what happens after tomorrow, after the Fed announcement, to see if anything gets shaken out of that. And then I have my daily ES, and that's all. All the rest of the quotes I'm looking at here, you could easily pivot on the charts to another market. It's pretty easy to do. the stochastics. All right, they're not stochastic. So let's kind of take a peek at what those are. I have a moving average cross. It's a simple moving average cross. I mean, it's not anything fancy. You know, we have the slow moving average, which is the purple, right? The 26 period. Then we have a fast moving average, which is, I don't know, gold colored, a little bit more jaggedy, a little bit rougher, not quite so smooth, and it's only a 6 period. And the reason we use the word fast or slow, in a slow moving average, it's slower with respect to the fast. In other words, it's not as sensitive to the next bar because it's averaging 26 points of data instead of the fast, which only averages 6. So that's kind of, and I want to see, you know, right now, really what I want to see is the short term kind of converge, right? Because we're long. So I want to see the short term converge, even cross over. You know, sometimes the crossovers are good signals, and this particular one wasn't a bad one, right? We had the fast one cross under, which means prices were moving down quickly. And if you put the crosshair up and look, you know, you got a confirmation bar, you got another confirmation bar, and then it was off to the races on the downside. So, you know, you can't use a moving average cross as the answer, but it does give you kind of another level of affirmation. And really what you want to see is opposed to the actual, oh, we had a cross, it's time to move. No, you want to see that divergence, right, of the two to suggest what the momentum is. And underneath that, I have the commodity channel index. It's just an oscillator. You know, there's all sorts of oscillators on NinjaTrader. You could use all of them that you want, and it's, you know, they're readily accessible. And, you know, it's oscillators cross, you know, they usually kind of oscillate around a midpoint. Right here, we got the 0 line. And then they have some highs and low bands, and there's a technical indicator that goes in the middle of it, and it'll oscillate up and down. And again, it'll show us momentum and direction. And right now, this is not a good, not a good signal for our trade idea, right? This is way far south. Not really good to look at. We're way negative. That minus 100 line is an area of interest. When we have a 0 line cross, area of interest, and really I want the CCI to cross up to give us any hope of a good trade idea. Dem, hey, how are you, man? Thanks for being here. Yeah, there is. You got to talk to your customer service rep. I hate to do that to you, but talk to your customer service rep at Ninja. If you don't have one, send me an email and I will get you set up with somebody. So, all right. So, Jeff, this is a great question. And I don't know if my answer is a good one or not, but I have an answer to this question. Let me read his question out loud. Can you explain the reason for rectangles instead of using support and resistance? These markets tend to be so volatile that I've never viewed support and resistance as one price, because you have fluctuation, you have movement, you have buyers and sellers pushing this thing around, and you can see it on the trading ladder. Let me just pull that up. You know, you can see it on the trading ladder. I mean, this thing's moving around, and it's with the volume that we have. And look at the bids and offers; they're in the triple digits. 10 ticks up, 10 ticks down. That's a depth of market look. That to pinpoint a specific actual price is hard. And that's why I like to think in terms of ranges. I like to think, hey, this is where buyers are coming in. We haven't been able to close in my rectangle. I'm gonna have to adjust it. We haven't been able to close in my rectangle for the last 3 bars. That could change, but we haven't. And it just gives me the cushion that I need to survive, you know, getting stopped out prematurely, which we probably would have if we would have just used a line. So that's kind of, again, part of my patience, kind of how I look at it a little differently. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but I would draw one on the top to identify areas of I'm sorry, I'm saying resistance. My brain's faster than my mouth's faster than my brain. Area of this is area of support. So I'm using this as an area of support. Area resistance will be up here somewhere, and I would kind of draw the rectangle to show that. But since we have a series of lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, and lower lows, lower lows, lower lows, there's not really a great area to draw a rectangle. Right now it's just kind of on the upside. We're not there yet, and we're kind of been vacillating up and down here. We're right back to where we entered. Sellers are kind of keeping it down here, and at the same time, we have a new volume leader down here, right where my crosshairs are at 57.50. I mean, keep an eye on these kind of areas to see if this volume could accumulate and surpass the point of control, because that happens all the time. But yeah, candle formations are big. They're important. Big wicks at the bottom is a good example. I mean, we're having, this market is fighting with itself right now. And you have a really good tug of war going on between buyers and sellers. I mean, look at how big this wick is on the previous candle. This big wick is, a lot of buyers are coming in, and a lot of times when you see a wick like this, the next candle does attack it. So this is not good for our trade idea, because that's definitely a target right now in the marketplace, and our stop's right below it. So just FYI, but yeah, for sure, the candle formations are important. We're looking for dojis, we're looking for shooting stars, gravestone dojis, dragonfly dojis, and hammers, and all of that stuff right now. And there's nothing so obvious for me right now, but this continuation candle here was a big one, which kind of drove us all the way across the range, and maybe made our trade idea a little bit more risky than it needed to be. Robert says you may wish to reverse your position. Why? I guess I'd be curious to know why I would wish to reverse it. I've been sitting in this seat, futures brokerage, retail brokerage space since 2001. And one of the top 10 mistakes people make, I don't know what number it is. I don't know if it's probably not number one, but is reversing, right? And there's a natural instinct to want to reverse, like, oh man, I was wrong. This market has downward pressure. It's going to break way south. I was wrong. I'm going to reverse. And typically, when you do that based on the idea that this kind of FOMO idea that you're missing out on something, it usually is a recipe for disaster. Now, in this particular case, would reversing be good? Maybe, but as a general overall approach, reversing positions without science to it tends to work out badly. So I guess so I'll go back to my questions. What's changed in your mind to suggest that I should reverse? It's because we're trading into my rectangle right now. To me, it looks like support's holding up. Now it could, of course, now that I said that out loud, it could break through and we get stopped out. But that's okay. That's kind of the dice that we threw. It's not really dice, but that's the analysis that I decided to try, right? So, reversing is generally the kiss of death for day traders, just because you think it's going against you. Sorry about that. Oh boy, Veronica. Okay, so if you want to learn Ninja platform from zero, what classes should I take? I have these other platforms. If you use these things, okay, if you've used Sierra chart, you're going to find this way more intuitive and easy. You just kind of know some of the tricks. There are how-to videos on the website. There's how-to videos on YouTube, and then I'm here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we're going to add some more events actually next week, and actually later on this week to show you how. One of the special events I am creating is onboarding for the platform. How to download, how to log in, how to set up everything. That's probably going to be two weeks away or so, Veronica, I'm guessing. So now that you're registered for this event, you're going to get notice when that event happens. But it's maybe 2 or 3 weeks away. Brent, there are hotkeys for sure to buy or sell. I'm not going to cover that right now because we'll get into the weeds for sure. But yes, there are hotkeys, absolutely. Jeff, you're welcome. Terrence, is there a size that your default? Okay, so my size is right. All right, until this candle ends itself, we're going to have to move it maybe, but it's the bottom of the bodies, and it covers the wick, right? Bottom of the bodies to the wick. And then generally, I'm trying to be 8 to 10 ticks below that on a stop. Now we placed a stop at this wick, not this wick. That's why it's closer. I'm not inclined to move it. I'm going to keep it there at this point, because again, once I have my trade idea, unless the paradigm of the market changes, I'm not going to change. So that's kind of how I draw it. So it's the bottom of the body, and now this candle is unique right now because it's an active candle. But the bottom of the bodies to the lowest wick, then my stop's like 8 to 10 ticks below that. And if this is too much risk for you, you could do this exact same trade on a micro ES, MES, right? And they're 1/10 the size. They're 1/10 the size of these contracts. So it gives you the ability to practice your technique with real money. And remember, real money is different, right? Because you have certain things that you cannot control, right? You can't control the chemical processes that go through your brain, right? Serotonin, dopamine, adrenaline. These are real things that pop in with real money. And so by trading the micro ES, the MES, you get a little bit of that. And then you can refine your approach. So don't discard the micros for sure. Sorry, I'm off on a tangent. I'm sure about that. Terrence, hopefully I answered that question okay. Carlos, I do not understand that comment. Robert, to me, 4360 appears to be resistance. It appears the market is going to dump. It very well could. It very well could, and but that's okay. I mean, we're going to hang tight and come up and see if there's another trade idea after that happens, if that does happen. James says, how do you make the bar on chart on the left side of your OF of the volume profile? Okay, so let me see if I can understand that comment. So right now I have my volume profile on the left side. I think what you're talking about is, let me go right. Let's go to my indicators. There's a setting. Order flow volume profile. There's a setting. Profile alignment could be left or right. If you go to right, it's going to put it on that side. We did get stopped out. If it's on the left, that's all it is. I'll leave it there for a second so you can see it. Okay, so support didn't hold. Trade idea didn't hold. And we're going to try to decide, okay, why? What do we do wrong? What's the next step? Is there a next step? I mean, we're pretty much trading now. We're approaching the session lows. We still got some work to do to get there, to be honest with you. Do I want to go ahead and simply put another order in to buy? No, because right now we're making another low. So let's kind of look at the candle. We have this low, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. This high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. So right now, again, the trend is turn south, turn negative on us, and we're going to just be patient. I don't know how right. I mean, you said the market's going to dump. We didn't dump anywhere. We just got stopped out. So, I think there's a big difference, and I appreciate your enthusiasm about being right. But again, if I would have reversed right now and not taken profit quickly, I would be in a losing trade, right? So it's, again, reversing is just not a good idea in general. This is based on my experience. And I've been doing this a long time. I think, Edward, volume bars gives you the volume bars gives you a pretty good feel for market structure. This what we're seeing with these volume bars is a really nice kind of Gaussian distribution, a bell-shaped distribution, point of control almost right in the middle. We don't see a skew up or down. Would I expect the point of control to be attacked again today at some point? Yes. Again, until this distribution gets out of whack, or the bias kind of shifts downward, I'm not going to believe that. But as we accumulate volume down here at the bottom, at the top of the prices above value, the bottom of the value area, then we could end up with a distribution that's either a double distribution or that it's skewed right now. And we are starting to generate some volume here. Let's just go ahead and put my crosshairs up. And there we have it. 43.54. So we'll see how that kind of develops volume right now to say, hey, has the paradigm of the market shifted from up here to down here? Or are we in Federal Reserve mode? Are we waiting for the Fed to actually to do something before we move off of where the point of control is? And I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Alan says, do you agree it is not so much what trading platform you use, but your trading strategy that makes a difference in future? No, you got to use Ninjatrader. What kind of question is that? 100%, you got to use Ninjatrader. You know, so I don't know. I mean, really, I think, you know, people get comfortable and locked into certain tools, you know, and the tools are, you know, these things are measured in milliseconds, right? The price feed and the data feed. You know, I just am comfortable with this now. I mean, you know, remember in December before I was over here, you know, Ninjatrader was the enemy. I thought it was the worst platform I've ever seen, but I never used it. And so now that, you know, Infinity is part of the Ninjatrader family, it's like, yeah, this is, now that I'm using it, I really kind of opened my mind to, wow, this is really a powerful yet intuitive platform. I mean, you do things like right click just about anywhere and you get stuff to do, right? It's easy to manipulate accesses, all that stuff. It's a development platform. So you have a whole bunch of third-party plugins, if you will. And you have the ability to do your own if you're a programmer and that kind of thing. But so yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of this software, but you know, again, technique is important, analysis is important, and kind of getting a niche and doing the same thing over and over again is important. So in any event, back to my rectangle, because we're gonna have to redraw it. We are gonna redraw it. And all we're doing is we haven't closed in the rectangle yet, right? We have not closed in that rectangle yet. And again, I'm going to go say it again. And this is an area. This is definitely an area of support right now. Until I see a close in that rectangle, we haven't done it once, twice, 3, 4, 5. I haven't seen it. So we're going to be patient, see what happens here. We're right at the transition between the bottom of the value area and prices above value. And you know, I got to cancel. Make sure you cancel this order, guys. This was my profit target. Remember? Real easy. I just click on the X. I'm not even using the trading ladder right now. Doug says flawless transaction from PC to Ninjatrader clearing. Oh, awesome, Doug. That's great news. I'm going to pass that on to the powers that be. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, eSignal, Veronica. You know, so eSignal was you know, well, it's been around a long time, right? I mean, eSignal has been around a long, long time. Was state of the art. It's still probably pretty good, but you know, I just get the sense that Ninja's gone past eSignal. I think that they kind of slowed down on the development and didn't dump as much money into it. So, so the fib line I didn't update. Why didn't I update it? I don't know, because we're at the low to the high. You could update it right now. You could do different fibs. You could add more than one fib. You could say, "Oh, I want to do it to the contemporary low, and I want to go to the to the contemporary high," and that's totally reasonable strategy. And let's go ahead and do it. Just go to the fib again, and we're just going to simply go to the contemporary high, which is right here at 940, and go down to the contemporary low right here. And then here's another fib, right? There's another fib that you could look at and see, hey, is there any information here that could be helpful to me? And I'm going to get rid of this guy since it's not a fib number. And let's just hit okay. Okay. So in any event, that's, again, points of points of interest. This 38 corresponds nicely. 23.6. So we'll see. Now we're into our rectangle. Are we going to have a close here? That's the $1 million question. If we close in this rectangle, then yeah, this is everything has changed. The moving average cross still is, let's kind of take a better peek at it. They're both turning down and they're diverging, right? So this is suggesting downward momentum. The CCI is pretty negative at minus 170. Slight turnabout, but not a lot. This is kind of momentum. Let's see if we can get over minus 100 before anybody gets too excited about it. And in the meantime, just hang tight and watch. Now, the other side of the coin, is, man, this, I want to go, I want to go short, but I only want to go short unless we break through your rectangle. So, that would be called a breakout trade. And I don't know if that's a good idea right now or not, but you can, and I'm just going to throw this on here for demonstration purposes. I'm not suggesting this is a good idea at all, but you can use stops as entries, not necessarily protection, right? So the breakout trader might say, okay, if we start trading down and we break through at 43.45, I want to be short. And I want to pick up, a profit a little bit lower. Now the negative, and I'll show you what the negative is. The negative is, of course, that you're sell the low of the move, right? So they're kind of risky. They're kind of harder to do. But the breakout trade would look like that. And again, this is not generally a good idea. But, when you have an area that is sustained, where you have support that keeps bouncing, the idea is, well, once it breaks through, the momentum is gonna get us down there, right? And I kind of put that kind of further away. But again, risk is you end up short at the bottom. Well, let's just see what happens. But again, this is not a suggested trade strategy or recommended idea. Okay, so there we got filled. Now we're short down here. And I know a lot of folks will be like, well, I don't want to be short at the bottom of the chart, but just like yesterday, you could have been short at any point yesterday, and you would have been, you would have done okay. So in any event, so let's just, and I hope it stays here so we could kind of see, let me kind of get these lines out of the way for us a little bit. Adjust the axis here just a little bit. Hopefully you guys could see that a little bit better. And sure enough, when we're having selling pressure, this is a really nice red candle. It started out, it's a continuation candle with a lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 lower lows, 1, 2, 3, 4 lower highs. And, we're digging, we're hitting rock bottom and still digging and see if we can make new lows on the day. This particular target here is right below the low of the day, which will be interesting to see if we could make it or not. So this fib line that we just added here is no longer any good. So this is one of the things with fibs lines when you're making new lows or new highs, you got to keep moving them. You got to keep adjusting them, and see what happens here. So our theory here is, of course, that I got to scroll up to figure out your name. Oh yeah, it looks like Robert's opinion so far is a good one. Got to give credit where credit is due. Making new lows right now, I would not, there's this rectangle is now no good anymore, so I'm going to get rid of it. I got to wait again to find some areas of support, find some areas of resistance, use the fib line. The volume flow chart. So Ishmael, I don't know that I understand. When do you update the volume flow chart? The volume flow, on the left-hand side, it updates automatically. Let me make sure I have my settings correct. Indicators. Let's go to order flow volume profile. Aha, setup. Always make sure this calculate is on each tick. That way you don't have to wait for a new bar. And let's just go through all the indicators, make sure it's like that on each tick, on each tick, on each tick. Okay, so that's good. We're all caught up. Thank you for pointing that out to me. So now it's going to move in real time with the volume. You'll be able to see. You don't have to wait for another bar, in other words, to kind of get it. Is that your question? If that's your question, kind of let me know. Again, it's not, this volume profile has no relationship to, I mean, it's not bar sensitive. In other words, it keeps accumulating from the get-go, right? And you could just say, hey, I want my volume profile just to show from, you know, a certain segment. NinjaTrader could do that pretty easily. Totally up to you. Yeah. So, and we're getting some volume down here. I mean, look at that little node right there. You know, and actually, let me kind of zoom in here so we could see it a little better. Let me zoom in. I have the volume numbers actually put in there. And you can see the numbers here, they're moving, right? So they're literally, as volume is accumulating, you can see the bars getting bigger, right? It's dynamic that way. So it's kind of interesting to see it that way. And I have this histogram set up at 2 ticks. Each one of these histogram bars is 2 ticks. All right, so the breakout trade, yeah, you know, was something. How about that? Again, this fib line is no good. This fib line, I'm going to get rid of it. We're going to wait to see what happens here. It's 10:52, and as expected, this is not a typical Tuesday before a Fed meeting. I'm going to share my notes here in a second. Bear with me. September 22nd, FOMC begins. So 8:30 this morning, we had the housing starts number. And I kind of do this every morning, just cut and paste and kind of think about what's happening here and whether traders may or may not be reacting to. You know, I don't know that this number in among itself broke the bank. You know, our actual for annual rate was toward the top end of the consensus range. Permits, actually, new construction permits were actually better than expected. But if you dig into the data here, you could also see a lot about, it seems like there's the rental industry is picking up, which was interesting information. I just cut and paste that link into the Census Bureau's website to see the full report. You could read it if you're completely bored. Current account, BEA News, Bureau Economic Analysis. And this is just kind of the trade deficit, import-export deficit number. And, you know, we I don't know if we were right in the middle of the consensus range and right on target to the consensus. Yesterday notes, you know, yes, survived the 100-day simple moving average. We'll see. And that's about it. That's all I have here for today. Pretty easy day today. On my notes, let's take a look at that though, as we're making new lows. How far are we away? How far are we away? Well, we're not that far away, right? This is the 50, this is the 100, this is the 100. And so the question is, are we going to survive? When I say survive, I mean, is this going to hold? Is the 100 SMA going to hold? And I don't know the answer to that. Do not know the answer to that. Other question I get, PC Geek says, why don't you use dark mode? I'm going to tell you why. That's a good question. And I don't use dark mode. You could customize your color on the NinjaTrader any way you want. I don't use dark mode simply because I'm so old and I can't see as well. That's my answer. I'm sticking to it. I can't see as well. So I do want to show one other thing. I get this question a lot, and I'm remiss not to show it real quickly. I'm just going to pull up a micro ES. I just toggled over to MES, right? And I get this question about day trade margins all the time. And remember, be careful with the day trade margins. I'm just simply going to go ahead and I'm just going to put a random trade in. Let's go ahead and just buy one at the market. So if you're ever not sure where you are on margin, your control panel up at the top will tell you, right? I have the accounts tab opened up, and it'll show me my intraday margin that I'm using, my buying power, right? And since this is a micro ES, it's $50, right? It's $50. So that just shows me if I have more than one, let's do another contract. I'll buy another contract. Okay, so now I have two contracts, right? Long 2 plus 2, that's 100, right? So this calculates how much, I guess you can call it buying power, how much day trade margin you're using in relation to the size of your account. The initial margin, that shows you what your overnight margin is basically, and that's set by the exchange. That's set by the exchange. So just keep that in mind. Kind of two little tools to help you decide what's going on there. And I'm just going to close that. Simple as that. Okay, we're getting close to 11 o'clock. I am going to type in my email address. It's my name, jim.cagnina at ninjatrader.com. Feel free to reach out to me at any time, and I'll do what I can to help. And I do want to go over a couple. I do want to remind you, trading futures options on futures involves substantial risk of loss, not suitable for all traders and investors. Oftentimes in futures trading, you have a high combination of leverage and volatility, although that could be an opportunity, an equation for opportunity. It's also an equation for risk, so be careful. Real-time practice account today. And we are going to, our schedule is today and tomorrow using the Ninjatrader software. Thursday, we're going to do a futures trading 101, and we're going to cover stuff like margin and what these numbers mean on the dome, how orders are routed, who the CME group is. So if you're brand new to futures trading, or even brand new to trading, or want a refresher course, we're not going to be looking for live trade ideas per se, but we're going to be talking about some of the basics, and then we're going to talk about all the different asset classes that are available, and all that stuff. Email address here. I'm going to type it in here right after Congress back after. Jim, for those of you, because I know that we're streaming this in a bunch of different places. So Jim Cagnina at ninjatrader.com. So there it is. I couldn't paste it into the thing, but into the Zoom box, but you might not have it with you if you're participating some other way. Jim Cagnina at ninjatrader.com. It's super easy if you could figure out how to spell my last name. Oh, John, I'm a knucklehead. Here we go. There we go. Let's do that. Feel free to shoot that out. Give me a thumbs up if you see it, John. All right, awesome. All right, that's it. Any last second questions, comments, observations? Type them in. Otherwise, hopefully, thanks for coming. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow or Thursday. And I just do want to remind everybody, be safe out there and be good to each other. Thanks for coming.